always thought being a twin meant sharing everything, until I found friends who only liked me, and that's when she got angry. People always said being a twin was special, but no one ever tells you what it's like to lose yourself in someone who looks exactly like you. Ever since I was born, Mia and I were treated as one person, the twins. Never just me, never just her. Our teachers mixed up our names, our friends did too. Even mom would call us by both names sometimes, like she couldn't pick one. It was cute when we were little, but as I grew older, something inside me started to ache. Mia was the louder one, the confident one, the one people noticed first. And me, I was the one standing beside her, smiling, nodding, blending in. Everywhere we went, people would say, "You're Mia's sister, right?" Never. "Hey, you're Emily." By the time we got to college, I told myself things would be different. New place, new people, new start. But the universe had other plans, because Mia got into the same college, same dorm building, same department. Of course she did. At first, I tried to pretend it didn't bother me. We'd walk to classes together, eat lunch together, sit beside each other during lectures. Everyone thought it was adorable. The inseparable twins. But deep down, I felt trapped in a version of myself that wasn't mine. Then, during my second semester, something small but life-changing happened. One afternoon, Mia was sick, so I went to a study group alone. That's when I met them, Chloe, Arya, and Lila. They didn't know I had a twin. They didn't compare me to anyone. They just liked me. For me. For the first time, I wasn't one of the twins. I was Emily. I laughed louder than I ever had before. I said things I never thought people would care to listen to. And they did. That night, when I came back to our dorm, Mia asked how the session went. I said, it was fine. I didn't mention the girls. I don't even know why I didn't. Maybe because it felt like a fragile secret, one that belonged to me alone. The next day, Chloe texted, "We're grabbing coffee after class. You in?" I said yes. And that's how it started. My quiet rebellion. My small step toward finding who I really was. I told myself it wasn't betrayal. It was self-preservation. But deep down, I knew. The moment Mia found out, things would never be the same again. Do you think Emily was wrong for wanting to keep her new friends to herself? Or was she finally doing something healthy for her own identity? It started with little things. I'd come back late from the cafe, claiming I was studying in the library. I'd laugh at my phone, say it was a meme, when it was really Chloe sending me a voice note. I didn't mean to hide it from Mia, but I also didn't want to share it. For once in my life, I had something that was mine. Chloe was the artistic one. She carried a sketchbook everywhere. Arya was hilarious. She could turn any awkward silence into laughter. And Lila, she was quiet but warm. The kind of person who listened like your words mattered. They saw me, not the mirror image of someone else. With them, I didn't have to compete. I didn't have to shrink myself to balance out Mia's energy. I could just be. But every time I walked back into our dorm room, the air changed. Mia would ask, "Where were you?" I'd shrug, "Library." She'd smile, but her eyes always lingered too long, like she was reading something I hadn't said. One night, I caught her staring at my phone. "Who's Chloe?" she asked, pretending it was casual. I said, "Just a classmate." Her expression softened for a second, then turned sharp. "Oh, you never mentioned her before." "I didn't think it mattered." "Everything about you matters to me, Em." Her words should have felt comforting, but they didn't. They felt like a chain disguised as love. Over the next few weeks, my two worlds started to pull at me like opposite tides. Mia wanted to spend evenings watching our favorite shows together, but Chloe and the girls started inviting me to movie nights at the cafe basement. Fairy lights, blankets, soft music, everything warm and simple. I kept saying yes to them and no to her, and every no seemed to chip away at her smile. Then came the day she showed up unannounced outside the cafe. I was laughing with Chloe when I heard her voice behind me. "Emily?" I froze. She stood there, her arms crossed, eyes darting between me and my friends. "Hey, Mia," I said quietly. "What are you doing here?" "I was walking by. Didn't realize you had plans." Her tone cracked on that last word. I introduced her to the girls, trying to keep my voice steady. They were kind, welcoming even, but I could feel it. The awkwardness, the unspoken questions. Why hadn't I told them I had a twin? When we got back to the dorm, she didn't say anything, just brushed her hair in silence. Finally, she whispered, "You didn't want me there, did you?" I didn't answer, because maybe for the first time she was right. If you were in Emily's place, would you tell your twin the truth? Or keep your new friendship separate to protect your own space? The silence between us became louder than any argument could have been. She didn't slam doors or shout. She just stopped talking the way she used to. We'd always shared everything, from clothes to secrets, from dreams to fears. But now, even our laughter felt borrowed. I'd come back from class and find her sitting by the window, scrolling through her phone, earphones in, pretending not to notice me. It hurt in ways I couldn't explain. Sometimes I caught her glancing at me like she was waiting for me to say something. But every time I tried, the words felt heavy and clumsy. "Hey, you want to grab dinner?" She'd smile politely. "Already ate." That fake smile, the one that hides heartbreak, it followed me everywhere. The guilt ate at me slowly. When I was with Chloe and the girls, I'd laugh and talk and feel light. But every so often, I'd think about Mia sitting alone in our dorm, and my chest would tighten. I told myself she needed to learn to be on her own too, that maybe this was healthy for both of us. But the truth? It just felt wrong. Then one evening, during a study group, Chloe said, "Hey, Em, why don't you invite your sister next time?" She seemed sweet. The room went quiet for a moment too long. I forced a smile. "Yeah, maybe." But my stomach twisted. Afterward, I walked home slowly, every step heavy. Mia was already in bed when I got back, pretending to sleep. On her desk, I noticed a framed picture of us from high school, both in matching dresses, smiling like nothing could ever come between us. I touched the frame gently, dust on my fingers, and realized how far we'd drifted. Days turned into weeks. Our schedules barely crossed. I started avoiding our dorm during the day, spending more time with the girls, losing track of how many times I ignored her texts. She stopped asking questions. She just stopped. Then one night, when I came back from a movie outing, I found a note on my desk. It said, "Don't worry, I won't bother you anymore. You can have your own world." No signature. No anger. Just quiet surrender. I stared at that piece of paper until my vision blurred, because I realized In chasing my own identity, I had made her feel invisible, the same way I had always felt. And for the first time, I wondered, had I just become the version of her I used to resent? Do you think Emily went too far by keeping her distance? Or was Mia's reaction unfair considering Emily's need for independence? I didn't see her for most of the next week. She left early for class, came back late, and somehow managed to be in every place I wasn't. It was like she'd learned the art of disappearing without leaving. At first, I told myself I deserved it. Then slowly, I started missing her. The quiet good mornings, the way she'd hum while tying her hair, even her teasing jokes that used to annoy me. I missed all of it. One evening, I walked into the campus cafe, the same one I'd claimed as my little escape, and froze. Mia was there, sitting with a group of people I'd never seen before. They were laughing. She was laughing, and she looked so effortlessly happy. Something sharp twisted inside me. Jealousy, guilt, maybe both. I stood there for a moment watching her. It was strange, seeing her light up without me. All those years, I thought she was the one overshadowing me. But now, I was the one standing in the background, out of focus. Chloe waved from across the cafe. Over here! I joined my group, pretending not to notice Mia, but I couldn't stop glancing at her table. The way she leaned in, the way her new friends hung on to her every word. It was like watching someone else live your old life. Later that night, I found her at our dorm desk, typing something on her laptop. New friends? I asked softly. She looked up. Yeah, they're nice. That's great. She smiled politely, the same empty smile I'd given her before. Then she said, you were right, Em. I needed my own world. And the way she said it, calm, almost kind, it hurt more than any anger could have. I wanted to say something, anything, to tell her I missed her, that it wasn't supposed to turn into this, but I didn't, because I didn't know how to reach her anymore. Over the next few days, I caught glimpses of her walking through campus with that same group. Her laughter echoed down hallways where mine used to. And for the first time, I understood what it felt like to be on the outside looking in. Chloe noticed the change in me. You okay? She asked. I nodded, but my chest felt hollow, because now I knew. In finding myself, I'd lost the one person who had always been part of me. That night, I stared at the ceiling and whispered to the dark, when did we stop being us? The silence didn't answer. It just pressed heavier against my heart. Do you think Mia was right to create her own circle after Emily left her behind? Or should she have waited to talk things through first? A week passed before I finally built up the courage to talk to her again. It wasn't guilt this time. It was longing. That strange ache you feel when someone you love becomes a stranger you pass in the hallway. She was sitting under the old oak near the campus lawn, reading. I'd seen her there hundreds of times before, but this time she looked different, lighter, happier, maybe even free. I sat beside her quietly. She didn't look up right away, but I knew she felt me there. After a moment, she said softly, you never come here? I used to, I said, just not lately. She turned a page, her eyes fixed on the book. Yeah, I noticed. The air between us felt full, of words unsaid, apologies unspoken. I picked at the grass, trying to find the right place to start. Mia, I didn't mean to push you away. She let out a slow breath. You didn't push me away, Em. You just walked a path that didn't have space for me. Her tone wasn't angry. It was worse, and she was honest. I wanted to find myself, I said quietly. I know, she replied, closing the book. But you could have told me. I would have understood. I looked at her, eyes stinging. Would you, though? She finally met my gaze. Maybe not then. But I do now. There was a strange calm in her eyes, the kind that comes after a storm has already done its damage. I wanted to reach out to bridge the distance between us, but I didn't know if I had the right anymore. Then she said something that hit harder than anything else. Do you remember when we used to talk about moving to different cities after college? Yeah. I think that was the first time we ever imagined being separate people. But I guess I didn't really believe it until now. I laughed softly, trying to hide the tears. We're still sisters, you know? She smiled faintly. Always. But maybe we just need to learn how to be different ones. We sat in silence for a while. Two people who shared the same face but not the same hearts anymore. When she got up to leave, she touched my shoulder and whispered, I'm glad you found friends, Em. I really am. And then she walked away, sunlight flickering through her hair, like the world had chosen her this time. I watched her until she disappeared, my heart full of things I never said. Because maybe loving someone sometimes means letting them be someone without you. Do you think Emily and Mia's relationship can ever return to how it was? Or have they grown too far apart to find their way back? It happened on an ordinary Thursday, the kind of day that starts quietly, gives no warning, and ends up changing everything. I was running late for class, coffee in hand, earbuds in, when I noticed people gathering near the main quad. At first I thought it was some event, until I saw the look on Chloe's face as she ran toward me. Em, she gasped. It's Mia. My stomach dropped. What about her? She fell during lab. The glass broke, she cut her hand bad, and they took her to the nurse's office. I don't remember running there, but somehow I was already pushing through the crowd, heart pounding in my throat. When I saw her sitting on the cot, blood-stained gauze wrapped around her palm, something inside me cracked. Her eyes met mine, wide, startled, soft. Em, she whispered. I rushed forward. What happened? Are you okay? It's fine, she said quickly, though her voice trembled. Just clumsy, I guess. I knelt beside her, hands shaking as I reached for her arm. You scared me. She smiled faintly. You still worry about me, huh? Of course I did. I always did. The nurse came over, told her it wasn't serious, just a deep cut. But to me, it felt like the universe had just thrown a brick at my heart, a reminder of what really mattered. After the nurse left, we sat there in silence. She looked down at her bandaged hand. Guess I'm not as independent as I thought. I shook my head. Don't say that. Everyone has accidents. She laughed softly. You sound like Mom. And just like that, the wall between us began to crumble. When I walked her back to the dorm, she leaned against me slightly like muscle memory. The hallway felt familiar again. Two shadows moving side by side. Inside, I helped her unwrap her jacket, careful not to touch the injured hand. She looked at me for a long moment, eyes shimmering. I missed this. You fussing over me. I smiled weakly. I missed you too. The words hung there, fragile and real. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was something. That night, she texted me from her bed across the room. Thanks for coming today. I didn't think you would, I replied. Of course I would. You're my other half, remember? A pause, then 3 words that made me tear up. Still your twin. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully, because maybe some bonds aren't meant to be broken, just tested. Do you think moments like these remind people what truly matters? Or do they only delay the hard conversations waiting to happen? The next morning felt lighter. We didn't say much, but something had shifted. A calm truce settling between us like early morning sunlight after a storm. I made her tea, the way she liked it. 2 spoons of sugar, no milk. She smiled when I handed it to her. You still remember. I laughed gently. I'd have to forget half my brain not to. It felt good, normal even. For the first time in months, the room didn't feel divided. She started joining me for breakfast again. Sometimes we'd walk to class together, not because we had to, but because it just felt right. We didn't talk about what had happened or about our separate circles. It was like both of us had silently agreed to let peace exist without asking too many questions. But beneath that peace, something fragile still lived. A quiet insecurity neither of us wanted to name. One evening, Chloe invited me to hang out. Before I could answer, Mia looked up from her laptop. You should go, she said softly. You don't mind? She shook her head, smiling. You've got your friends. I've got mine. It's fine. But her eyes said something else. At the cafe, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Every laugh I shared with Chloe and the others carried a faint echo of guilt, because no matter how far I tried to walk from her shadow, she was still stitched into my every moment. Later that night, I came back to find her asleep on the couch, her phone still glowing beside her. On the screen was a photo. Me at the cafe, laughing with my friends. Someone must have posted it. She'd liked the post. Something about that small act made my chest ache. She wasn't angry. She was just watching from afar, proud maybe, but still hurting. The next morning, I sat by her bed before she woke up. I whispered, You're still my favorite person. She stirred, smiled sleepily and mumbled, Even if I'm not your only one? Her words hit deep, gentle but heavy. I wanted to tell her she was irreplaceable, but I didn't because she already knew. Over the next few days, we found small ways to meet in the middle, coffee runs together, late night talks about nothing important, shared playlists again. It wasn't perfect. It was delicate, but it was ours. Sometimes, while walking beside her, I'd catch our reflection in a window. 2 faces still identical, but finally, different. Maybe that's what growing up meant. Not breaking apart, but learning how to stand side by side. As 2 whole people, not halves of the same one. Do you think true closeness means being inseparable? Or learning how to love someone from just enough distance? Peace never stays forever. It visits like a breeze, soft, gentle, but it always leaves before you're ready. Things between Mia and me had started to feel normal again. We had our rhythm back. Morning walks, shared playlists, inside jokes that no one else understood. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a tiny fear lingered. What if all this balance was too fragile to last? That fear came true one Friday evening. Chloe had organized a surprise birthday dinner for me. I hadn't mentioned it to Mia because I thought she was busy with her new group that weekend. When I walked into the cafe and saw everyone waiting, balloons, cake, fairy lights, I felt this rush of warmth. For once, I was at the center of attention and it didn't feel borrowed. But halfway through the night, as I blew out the candles, I looked toward the door and froze. Mia was standing there. Someone must have tagged me in a story. Her expression wasn't angry. It was worse. It was disappointed. She turned around before I could reach her. By the time I ran outside, she was already gone. I called her, no answer. I texted, nothing. Back at the dorm, her bed was empty. Hours passed. My birthday suddenly felt like a mistake I'd made twice. When she finally came back past midnight, I stood up. Mia, wait. She dropped her bag quietly, voice low. You didn't invite me. I didn't think you'd want to come, I said, desperate. You didn't think, she whispered. That's the problem. Her tone wasn't sharp. It was heartbreak wrapped in calm. I didn't want to make it weird. I tried explaining. It was just my friends. Your friends, she repeated, eyes glassy. You mean not ours. I took a step closer. It wasn't like that. She looked up, tears catching the dim light. Then tell me what it was like, Em. Because I keep trying to understand where I fit in your life now. I couldn't answer, because deep down I wasn't sure myself. She shook her head slowly, whispering, You're not a bad sister. You're just different now, and maybe that's what I can't handle. Then she turned away, pulling her blanket over her shoulders like a wall between us. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the faint glow of her phone charging beside her bed. It blinked once, then went dark again, just like us, light, then shadow. Do you think Mia's reaction was fair? Or was Emily right to keep her birthday celebration separate as part of her independence? The next morning, the air in our room felt different, heavy, like a song paused mid-note. Mia wasn't there when I woke up. Her side of the bed was neatly made, her books stacked perfectly. That was how I knew she was still upset. She only cleaned when she was trying not to feel things. I sat there for a while, staring at the empty bed, wondering when us became me. College had always felt like a chance to breathe, to exist without being someone's mirror. But now, that freedom felt lonely, like I'd stepped out into the world only to realize I'd left the best part of me behind. Later that day, I saw her across the courtyard, sitting on the grass with a sketch pad in her lap. She looked peaceful, too peaceful, and I almost turned back, but something inside me said no more running. I walked over slowly. Mia, I said softly. She looked up, eyes guarded. Hey. I sat down beside her, leaving a small space between us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The sound of laughter from a nearby group filled the silence, and it hit me how much I missed laughing with her. I didn't mean to hurt you, I said finally. I know, she replied, still sketching. You just did. Her words cut deeper because they were true. I wanted something of my own, I whispered, something that wasn't always tied to you. But I think I went too far trying to prove I could be separate. She sighed, putting her pencil down. I get that, Em. I really do. It's just, we've always been a we. And suddenly it felt like you wanted to erase that. Tears stung my eyes. I didn't want to erase us. I just wanted to find out who I am when I'm not half of a pair. She turned to me then, her expression softening. You don't have to choose, you know. You can be your own person and still have me. I nodded, biting my lip. I guess I was scared that if I kept leaning on you, I'd never learn to stand alone. She smiled faintly. And I guess I was scared that if you didn't need me anymore, I'd disappear. That broke me, because she'd said out loud what I hadn't even dared to think. I reached for her hand. You'll never disappear, Mia. You're my sister, my twin, my best friend. Even when I try to be independent, you're still part of my heartbeat. Her eyes shimmered, and for the first time in weeks, she squeezed my hand back. Okay, she whispered. Then let's start again. As sisters, as individuals, but still together. And right there, under the shade of an old oak tree, something inside both of us healed. Not perfectly, but enough. Have you ever pushed someone away just to prove you could stand alone, and then realize they were part of what made you strong? The next few weeks felt like a quiet dance. Tentative steps forward, careful not to hurt the other, but slowly finding rhythm again. We started sharing more moments, small things at first. Mornings walking to class together, joking over coffee, swapping notes, late night texts that didn't feel forced. We didn't try to fix everything at once. That would have been impossible. But we made space for each other, and somehow that was enough. One afternoon, Chloe invited me and Mia to a campus art fair. I was nervous at first, worried she might feel left out or awkward, but Mia surprised me. She smiled, laughed with the girls, and even started a conversation with one of them about painting techniques. Watching her connect, I realized independence doesn't mean distance. It means having your own life without leaving the ones you love behind. Later, as we walked back to our dorm, the sun dipping low over the campus lawn, Mia linked her arm with mine. You know, she said softly, I think we're getting the hang of this, being sisters who aren't the same person. I laughed. Yeah, I think we are. We paused near the oak tree, the one where so many of our conversations and silent struggles had happened. I touched her shoulder gently. I'm proud of you, Mia. And I'm proud of me, too. She squeezed my hand. And I'm proud of both of us. It felt like a promise. Not just between us, but to ourselves. That we could grow, explore, make new friends, chase our own dreams, and still carry each other along. That night, as I lay in bed, I didn't feel the tightness in my chest I'd carried for months. I realized something important. Independence isn't about walking away. It's about standing tall, knowing the people you love will still be there when you turn around. Mia texted me before she fell asleep. Thanks for holding my hand today, even when I didn't ask for it. Love you, twin? I smiled, replying instantly. Always. Love you too. Always. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like half of anything. I felt whole. And so did we. Together, apart, but never apart for long. Growing up as a twin had taught me that life is complicated, messy, and full of contradictions. But it had also taught me the most beautiful lesson of all, that love doesn't compete with identity, it strengthens it. And as Mia and I drifted off to sleep that night, I knew this wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where we could laugh, fight, grow, explore, and still always come back to each other. Do you think it's possible to fully balance personal independence and close relationships? Or does life always demand compromise?